What we're going to do from this point is probably start to look back in a very specific manner. And that is the way in which we would expect it to impact a licensee. Just a quick announcement.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. We are just doing some final housekeeping on all of the attendees because we had a number of you that we did not anticipate would be here. So we're going to send out a sign-in sheet. If you can just make sure that your name, your company name is there, and a phone contact, we'd be grateful for that. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the session.
Okay, again, we're just going to reiterate. We're going to reiterate what we've been talking about, especially when it comes to setting prices, because it's so important that we bear those fundamentals in mind, right? A, that VAT is not a cost, so don't mark up on it, because you could put yourself really at a price disadvantage by doing that, a competitive disadvantage, okay? And again, what's important is your display price. Ensure that your display price is VAT inclusive. Now, I'm going to digress a little bit here, because I know that a number of licensees are concerned about the practicality of having all of their items on the shelf VAT inclusively priced for as of the 1st of January, the first holiday, the 2nd of January. Now, we understand that in some instances it's not going to be practical. What we're saying though is start making the preparations now to do so. The easiest way is for those persons who have bin tags to indicate what your post December 31st price is going to be. It's being done elsewhere. Kelly's is doing it in Nassau, where they're showing today's price and they're showing the price after VAT is implemented. What it does, it gives your consumers, your customers, a sense of comfort that you're not trying to gouge them. So they can actually see it, they know what to expect. The other thing is that if you do that, you then avoid the situation where you have an item on the shelf that was $10, let's say, prior to January 1. Somehow you didn't re-sticker price it, the person comes, picks it up and walks to the cash register and says, well, I'm only paying $10. You can point to the fact that, look, we've said that the VAT inclusive price is $10.75. I know that the Consumer Affairs Ministry is going to be, they're going to relax some of their scrutiny in that regard, because we understand that it is not practical that all of those items on your shelf are going to be accurately repriced. What we're hoping though is that by the end of February, that process would have been completed. Okay, so we're working with you in that regard. January in the retail business is the slowest, or the slower period, right? Probably one of the slowest months. So it should give you an opportunity to do that. Start the process now. You can start repricing just using a simple spreadsheet. Okay?
How the revised tariff rates been published?
You can get that information from Customs Department, I think.
So they're
So again, I'll break in a short while and just take some questions. I'm not going to wait to leave them all for the end. All right?
You said
just let me finish with this and then I'll get to you.
Okay, no problem.
So that's the manner in which we're going to accommodate that difficulty. So we know it exists. But like I said, you can start the process by using a simple spreadsheet, just adjusting your prices up 7.5%. Check though to ensure that you have no changes with regard to tariffs. Okay? You may find that if you look back at your records historically, it will tell you, it might give you an idea if you need to, because of the change in the way in which duties are calculated, if you need to look at probably revisiting some of your pricing as you go along. Okay? In the case of bonded items, for example, for those of us who have bonded warehouses, it really should not make a difference. Okay? Because in the same way in which you're calculating your duties, you'll be calculating your VAT. Right? But you could start that process now so that your prices on the shelves, all right, could be adjusted as soon as possible after January 1. In this particular example that we have here, all right, we're saying his cost is $40. He paid VAT of $3. He marked up 25%. If you notice, the 25% markup is on the $10. He now has a base selling price of $50. Calculates the VAT. He adds the VAT to give a display price of $53.75. The final selling price does not include the input VAT of $3, meaning that he did not, that input VAT did not form part of his cost. It's just kept separately. Think of it as if we take the $3 and we put it in a kitty. And then we go ahead and do whatever we've got to do with our items. And when we collect the $3.75, we put it in the same kitty. And we say, okay, we had $3 in there before, we should now have $3.75. I only need to put an extra 75 cents. It's the final consumer. Now we're going to talk about setting prices to include VAT. We're going to talk about the VAT receipt because I know everybody's been talking about the VAT receipt and what the VAT receipt should look like. Now what I've done here basically is we're going to walk into this restaurant. It's called Tasty VAT Restaurant. Tasty VAT Restaurant and Bar, okay? And oh, he's registered too, right? He's got a TIN number 1234567. This is not a receipt. We're just playing around with some numbers here, okay? Now, up to New Year's Eve, he had a T-bone in steak for $28. You got corned beef and grits for $15, tuna and grits for $12. Steamed snapper for $18 and locally imported grouper for $25. You got a Sands beer for $3.50, a Collect for $4, Heineken for $4.50. Now if we bought one of each of those items, and that's what we're assuming, you know, it was two friends and they decided to have a good time. As it stands today, the total sale would have been $110, GRATs would have been 15%, and we would have been asked to pay $126.50. Now, look how we're using the same procedure, the same process to get a VAT receipt after the implementation of VAT. Now, we're saying the new price. We add our VAT in, so we've got to print our new menus, all right? So we're going to print our new menus, we add the VAT in, T-bone steak, $30.10. No, let's round it, $30. Okay? Corned beef and grits, when we add 7.5% to that, we get $16.13, we say, okay, $16.25. We're trying to keep it simple, we're going zeros and fives here. Okay, we're rounding up, down, we lose a couple of cents here, we gain a few there. We do the same thing with our tuna and grits, $12.90, we made it $13. But if you notice, we're giving and taking all the time, yes? The same snapper, $19.35. Well, we left it at that because it's a 5 cents, we're okay with that. Locally imported grouper, $26.88. We say, okay, $26.90. All right? So we gave up 10 on the first item. We took back 10 on the third item. We got 12 on this. Now this is what's important. The total sale at that time, $118.40. The VAT included in that is $8.26. Look at the graphs. And this is only because we rounded up a few items by a couple of cents. But the graphs basically is the same. So if we compare the price we would have paid today with the price we'll pay in January 1, the difference is just the VAT that's included. That is what you would have collected. Now, the confusion with regard to grants came about for this reason. VAT is going to be charged on grants where the grants are not totally distributed to the employees. It must be totally distributed, all of them, not some, all of them. If any of the grants are held within the company, then it's VATable and it's not allowed deduction. So the VAT must be. Somebody made the comment about pooling. The only concern is that if it's pooled, and there's nothing wrong with pooling grants, that it is distributed back out, all of it, to the employees. And those employees, of course, if you have a union and there's a particular category of employees who are entitled to it, once it's distributed in that fashion, then there are no grants, no VAT associated with grants, none whatsoever.
So the grant is then only calculated on the sale price then, right? Not on including the grant. So it's $118.40 plus 15% for the grant total.
For the VAT
For
total?
the gratuity.
How do you calculate your
So it's
gratuity?
100.
Oh, no. Your gratuity is calculated on $118.40 less the VAT. You're not charging gratuity on the VAT. If you look at this example here, all right? The gratuity is charged, you compare this with that. This includes VAT, that does not. And the gratuities are the same, apart from that 2-cent difference. Okay, we'll stop and I'll take a few questions because there's a murmur going around and I want to ensure that we get this. We have to get this. Okay, let's start at the back.
My first question is based on your initial presentation. First of all, price is supposed to decrease a bit. So why is it I'm not taking that into consideration when I give my new proposed suggested price?
You're saying the prices are?
Supposed to decrease
No.
at the bottom.
I'm saying that the method used for calculating duties, that has changed. It doesn't mean that you're going to see a reduction in prices across the board. This is why we said, I only illustrated that to point out that it's important that you look at your base price before setting new prices.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So basically, during the import process and the middleman in the process, if my price went down by an average of say 8 to 10%, why is my proposed new price still higher than the old price?
Hold on. This is just an example. I'm just using this as an example. You may find that some of your prices may decrease. I'm just using this as an example. I'm saying all things being equal, nothing changing. This is what I expect it to look like. All right? Next. I think somebody in the back, yes, you were.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask about this, the VAT showing on the sales receipt. On my system, I have one already that can handle it, so I don't have to go out and spend the thousands of dollars. That's, everyone else is probably gonna have to, but regardless, mine shows the VAT as a total at the bottom, but it also shows the VAT on a breakdown of each item. Do you want it just as an asterisk, or does it, I would like my consumer to know what they're paying.
That's-
Because I know it has to
Let me
be
tell you, okay,
inclusive
to
of
comply with the law, all right, with regard to VAT,
Yeah.
it needs to show the VAT paid by the customer. That's it. It pays, would you ask the customer to pay?
Yeah.
And the VAT paid by the customer. Now, if you break that down by item, nobody's gonna, I mean, you're
Well,
still.
it shows both. That's
Yeah, what I'm saying is, all we want to ensure is the customer is given adequate notice of what they're paying. So I don't think that, that we're going to, oh, well, you've got to show every item, you've got to show asterisk, you've got to keep the tin on the right hand or the left hand. Doesn't matter. All we need to see is your tin number on the receipt. It says to the customer, you are entitled, you're authorized to charge VAT. And then on the receipt, just basically to say, this is how much I've asked you to pay. In this case, $134.92. $16.52 of which is VAT, and $8 is GRAT, sorry, and $8.26 VAT. That's all we're doing.
Chief, we're gonna handle commission like you do gratuity, would it be the same type of idea?
It depends on the nature of the commission. It depends on the nature of the commission. Because you see, there are some commissions that are considered almost the equivalent of a wage, and if it is, then it's not valuable. There are some commissions that will be considered in the form of a fee, where you are in your own business and providing a service that is commission-based. The key is you are in your own business, as opposed to you are an employee and getting commissions on sales. They're two different things. So where you're an employee and getting commissions on sales, it is not valuable. But where you are someone providing a service for which you get a commission, i.e. you're in your own business, it is valuable.
My question is the calculation itself. It'll be, you're not calculating commission on the total value of the good with the VAT on it. That's the question I'm asking.
No. Whenever, VAT is not a cost. We just bear that in mind. It's not a cost. Keep it separate. Keep it separate. It's not a cost. It's not a cost. That's the one thing we've got. That's our mantra. It's not a cost. It's not a cost. We keep it separate. We keep it separate. Yes.
Now, Mr. Baker, Mr. Small, original item cost $100. Now we got $25. That's a 25% markup. I think 7.5%.
Somebody has a mic? Because sorry, I didn't get that clear.
I said on your Mr. Big and Mr. Small, the original item cost $100. The government got $25. That's a 25% markup, which is, so I think 7.5% is a misnomer.
No, it's not. Let me explain why.
You're getting 25%.
Well, you said it's a misnomer, and I will explain why it is not a misnomer. The name of this tax is value added tax. And what it essentially means is that, to put it another way, is that the tax is raised on the value added to any item from the time of importation to the time of consumption. So, if you look at that example again, it came in at $100. That was valuable. By the time it was sold for $300 odd. It's the value added that was in effect valued. You started with a value of 0 at the time of importation. And that's why it's called a value-added tax. Every time the value moves, it is suggested that the value moves because either a service was rendered or something added to that item. And that is what is taxed. So if you took a copy of it, have a look, and you'll see exactly, if you play with the numbers, you will see that the tax was raised on the value added. Okay, we'll take one more, and then we'll move on.
Where do you register online? What's the site?
I'll get that for you before you. I don't want to talk.
And are the tariffs online, or you just get a hard copy from customs?
You probably can get a copy from the customs.
We're gonna have a question answered.
Yes.
Just before he
Okay,
starts.
I just wanted to do that because there was a murmur and I wanted to ensure that we fully understood this, all right, before we move.